Imagine this for a second. You've decided to sell something really valuable. Could be, I don't know, inherited jewelry, maybe a painting you love, or even like a vintage watch you stumbled upon, a real heirloom. You want to get its true value right. What's the first thing that jumps into your mind for getting the absolute best price? For a lot of us, it's a sort of glittering, high stakes world of the auction house. So today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. The very alluring but often pretty complex world of selling at auction. Yeah, on the surface, it looks amazing. Global exposure, exciting bidding wars, maybe, just maybe, a life-changing payout. But our sources show that underneath all that glamour, there can be some genuinely surprising, sometimes even brutal pitfalls sellers just don't see coming. So our mission here is to peel back those layers. We'll look at the obvious benefits, sure, but also, really importantly, the less obvious risks. We want to give you a full kind of insider's picture so you can be properly informed about what really happens when you hand over your prized possession to an auction house. And we all picture the gavel coming down, this huge number.
But is that what really happens for the seller?
It's fascinating, isn't it? Beyond that obvious appeal, there are just so many layers of complexity in the auction world, and understanding those nuances is absolutely crucial before you decide to commit something valuable. It's really not just about the final hammer price. It's everything that happens behind the curtain.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's start with the poll. What actually draws people in? What are those big, undeniable advantages that make auctions seem like, well, the go-to option for valuable stuff?
Well, our sources really point to two massive things. First, and this one is huge, it's the incredible global reach and, the hype these big houses can build. Think about places like Sotheby's, Christie's, Bonhams, or Phillips. They're not just showing your item locally. They're putting it out there to the world's wealthiest, most dedicated collectors.
Right. So it's not like just sticking it in a local gallery window.
Yeah.
So I say, that rare coin my grandpa had, suddenly the few top experts in the world who really care about that specific coin might actually see it.
Exactly. That's the power right there. With online bidding, auction streaming, your unique thing can be seen, bid on from anywhere. Doesn't matter where the actual auction room is. And that really drums up incredible interest, especially for those super specialized items that only a niche market would truly get excited about.
That makes total sense. You're basically casting the widest net possible. Okay, what's the second big draw then?
The second key thing is a pretty significant status and desirability boost. Just being listed, being in the catalog of a famous luxury auction house, that automatically elevates the item's prestige. These places are basically the ultimate influencers of taste and, value in the luxury market.
Huh. So it's not just their brand name attached, it's almost like it's been pre-vetted somehow, is that it?
Precisely. When a top house takes something on, they've authenticated it. They've meticulously researched its history, its provenance, and they've decided it's worthy. That sort of implied stamp of approval. It lowers the risk for buyers and often means they're willing to pay a premium because they trust the house's homework, their due diligence. It's a powerful psychological thing.
Okay, those benefits, global reach, instant status boost, they sound fantastic on paper. I mean, who wouldn't want that for their special item? But as we know, whenever big money's involved, there are usually hidden complexities, right? And our sources really hammered this home. Those undeniable advantages can come with some pretty significant and often unexpected catches.
Oh, they certainly can. While the appeal is strong, there are pitfalls many sellers just don't anticipate until they're already, deep into it. The first one, and arguably the one that hits hardest, is the level of commissions and premiums involved. Auction houses can effectively take a really big slice, sometimes up to 30% of the final sale price.
30%. Wow, okay, that's huge. How does that even work for the seller? I'm picturing someone getting excited about a big payout and then suddenly seeing it shrink dramatically.
Yeah, you really need to understand how it splits. So as the seller, you might give up, say, up to 15% of the hammer price.
Hammer price being the final bid.
Exactly, the price when the gavel falls. So you give up maybe 15% of that, but then the buyer, they pay an additional 15% premium on top of that hammer price. So effectively, the auction house can pocket a full 30% from the whole transaction, part from you, part from the buyer. It really makes you ask, okay, have you actually calculated how much of that number you thought you were getting will land in your bank account? A lot of sellers end up with surprisingly little.
Right, that difference between the seller's cut and the buyer's extra payment is key. And probably easy to miss, I bet. But it doesn't stop there, does it? Are there other costs, like upfront ones?
Absolutely. Then you've got the upfront auction expenses. These are totally separate from the commission. And these are costs you have to pay whether or not your item actually sells.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking fees for, Professional photos, getting into their fancy catalogs, for the website, the printed ones, sometimes even storage fees while it's waiting. A lot of sellers just assume this stuff is covered by the commission, but nope, that's just not how it works. If your item fails to sell, you're still on the hook for all of that.
So you're putting money down just for the chance to sell with zero guarantee. That sounds like quite a gamble already.
It is. And then adding to the fun, there's the whole timing frustration. Specialist sales say for rare watches or specific types of art might only happen once, maybe twice a year. And if you miss the consignment date, that's the deadline to get everything agreed and in the catalog, which can be like a month before the sale itself, well, you could easily be facing a 7-month wait until your item even gets seen.
7 months. Wow.
Yeah. And what's more, the serious buyers for specific things, they don't just browse you around, they often follow that auction calendar. So if your item goes up for sale when those key buyers aren't actively looking, well, getting a quick or even successful sale becomes much less likely.
Okay, wow. Those hidden costs, the long waits, it really paints a different picture from the glamour we started with. But let's say you navigate all that, you pay the fees, you wait the months, only to face the biggest disappointment. Your item just doesn't sell. Our sources flag this as maybe the biggest pitfall and one whose real impact people seriously underestimate.
This is really where it can all backfire spectacularly. Turns potential profit into a definite loss. If your item doesn't sell, bam, you're hit financially straight away. Like we said, you're still paying for those upfront things, the photos, the catalog, the storage. You could genuinely end up with less money after the auction than before you even started. You might have actually paid them for the privilege of not selling your item.
That's sobering. But it sounds like the money lost is just the start. There's a deeper damage, isn't there? Something more permanent.
Absolutely. The worst part is the devaluation. It's what the industry calls being burnt at sale or brought in. You'll hear BI. For unique or rare things, this can be catastrophic. It's not like years ago where BI might eventually fade away. Now with the internet, that black mark can stick to a piece for years. All the info about it failing to sell is just readily available online.
So it's not just that you missed selling it. It's actively damaged its future prospects.
Oh,
like
yeah.
trying to sell a house that has failed auction stamped all over its online history.
That's a perfect way to put it. The failure to sell isn't just a footnote. It raises big questions in the bidding community. Questions about its quality, its condition, maybe its real value. And whether those doubts are fair or not almost doesn't matter. The community will start talking about why it didn't sell. And these days, with social networks connecting collectors globally, that negative vibe can spread fast and stick around, easily found by future potential bidders for years.
That is a genuine nightmare for someone trying to sell something valuable. What usually causes this burning? Is it just the item wasn't good enough? Or is there something else common going on?
A really common reason things get burnt is actually just a misvaluation by the auction house itself. If the item's reserve price, that's the secret minimum price the seller agrees to accept, is set too high, it just scares bidders off. Nobody wants to keep bidding if they think the price is unrealistic.
Right.
But conversely, if the reserve is set weirdly low, bidders might get suspicious thinking, what's wrong with it that they'd let it go so cheap? Either way, getting that reserve price wrong is a fast track to the item not selling and getting that dreaded burnt label damaging its value long term.
So, okay, what does all this mean for you, the person thinking about selling? It basically means you could be, playing with fire. Even if your item is amazing, so many crucial things are just totally outside your control. It adds layers of risk.
Precisely. Let's think about some real examples of these outside forces that can burn an item. Sometimes you have serious buyers, genuinely interested, but they're playing it cool. They're holding back early on, watching, waiting strategically, maybe trying not to drive the price up too fast. But if the auctioneer misreads the room, calls time on the bidding too soon, boom, it gets recorded as brought in or burnt, even though there were buyers ready to pounce.
Oh, so the auctioneer really has to be a master psychologist to avoid that, even when there is interest. That sounds incredibly high pressure.
It absolutely is. Another thing is sometimes there's just not enough interest right then, right there, in that specific room or online session. For whatever reason, maybe the right collectors weren't tuned in that day. Even a really valuable, desirable item might just not get enough bids at that moment. So it gets burnt, but through no real fault of the item itself, the timing was just off.
And then there are those huge, completely unpredictable things that just shake the whole market, right?
Exactly. Our sources brought up the really powerful example of November 2008. The global financial crash hit. Auction catalogs were already printed, estimates were set months before, but because of the crash, more than 40% of items received a BI at auction in that month alone. 40%.
Wow.
So you connect that to the bigger picture, right? You can see how these massive economic forces can just crush a single transaction, totally outside your control as a seller. Imagine you've trusted your most valuable thing to a sale right when the world economy decides to implode. The impact is just devastating.
Okay, so given all these risks, the hidden costs, the long waits, the very real danger of your item getting burnt, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, is there actually another way, a way to sell something valuable without going through this whole auction gauntlet? And yes, our sources do point towards a pretty compelling alternative.
That alternative is pawnbroking, which offers a very different, often much more predictable set of advantages. One of the biggest is getting immediate funds and having total transparency. Unlike auctions, where you wait for the sale, then wait for payment, then see commissions deducted, a reputable pawnbroker can often give you the funds right away. There are no hidden fees,
Yeah.
100%, the final agreed sale price right from the start. That gives you certainty, peace of mind.
So no more guessing games about what you'll actually walk away with. No surprise deductions later.
Exactly. And crucially, you just don't have that worry about the item not selling or getting burnt at sale. That entire risk, the devaluation, the financial loss if it doesn't sell, is just completely off the table. Plus, if you decide you don't want to buy the item back later, there's usually an option for an immediate, straightforward sale. It gives you liquidity without any of those lingering auction uncertainties.
Now, that immediacy and certainty sound great, definitely. But is it fair to say the immediate cash offer from a pawnbroker might be, well, maybe a more conservative slice of what the item might fetch at a record-breaking top-tier auction if everything went perfectly?
That's a very fair point to raise. Generally, yes, the immediate cash offer is likely to be a more conservative percentage of an item's absolute potential peak auction value. And that's because the pawnbroker is taking on all the immediate risks themselves, the risk of selling it on, the storage, the overheads.
That makes sense.
But for many sellers, that predictability, the speed, the absolute clarity on the price, and knowing there's zero risk of burning the item, that often outweighs the gamble of an uncertain auction outcome. Our sources even mention, there are respected, award-winning pawnbrokers who specialize in luxury goods. It shows it's a serious, viable, and secure alternative for high-value items.
So we've done this fascinating deep dive. We've seen that, yeah, selling at a luxury auction offers incredible global reach, undeniable prestige. But it's absolutely not without some pretty major downsides. From those hidden costs and surprisingly long waits to the really serious, lasting risk of your item being burnt at sale and potentially devalued for years.
Yeah, understanding those dynamics is key, especially all the factors you just can't control: bidder psychology, economic downturns hitting at the wrong moment. It's really about weighing those potential, maybe exciting highs against some very real and often quite unexpected risks before you make a decision about your valuable possessions.
Indeed. So maybe before you decide to sell that cherished item, the question to ask yourself is, are you willing to play with fire for that chance of a premium, knowing all the variables? Or maybe would you prefer a path with more predictable, transparent, and immediate results? It's a really crucial question to think about, especially when it's something you truly value.